Dear learners, welcome back to your educational channel Learn and Educate, where we were studying a few basics about the Foreign Exchange Management Act. Now, continuing that series, we would begin with Section 2, Clause ZB Services. Service means services of any description which are made available to a person who is willing, who is interested to use the product, who is interested in buying the services. A person who is a potential, who is willing to buy the products, or he is interested in using the services which are being offered. Thus, the services of a description which is made available to a potential user, which includes the provisions with respect to facilities provided of banking, finance, insurance, the medical assistance, medical facilities, the assistance in the form of legal services, the legal assistances, chit fund, real estate, transportation, processing service, supply of electricity, the services relating to distribution of electricity, boarding, lodging, purveying of the news facility, information, or any other kind of entertainment, amusement. Therefore, services includes provision of any services with respect to banking. Banks are a financial institution who has been licensed in India. They are licensed under the Reserve Bank of India and formed under the Companies Act as a bank who perform the function of mobilizing the savings of the individuals of any persons, providing bank facility to businessmen and any legal entity, association of person, artificial juridical person, or any trust, any legal entity whose accounts are open in a bank. They deposits their savings, and bank provide loan facilities, credit facilities, the facility of extra money over which they own a credit facility to the businessman to individual based on the terms and conditions. Banking is an activity which directly relates to the financing of individual and of the person and of the economy. Banking activity means the taking of the deposit with respect to funds of the individuals and the legal entities, and to place these funds, the placement of those funds in the form of banking to the another person on own conditions at its own risk, servicing of the account, opening of the account, and legal entity. And like insurance, the services of insurance. Insurance service is insurance as an activity is related to undertaking the liability of by the insuring company insurer under a contract of insurance to pay for the damages to the insured person for in the case of happening of the event which are contingent, happening of an insurance event, insurable event upon which the losses occur to the person. In the return of such in- insurance guarantee, premium is received. Premium is received by the insurance company, and in return of that, it provides a guarantee that it would compensate in the case of happening of an event, of an insurable event. Another is that insurance companies also are regulated by the IRDA Act. The financing activity, the service of financing is a very broad nature. The definition is an umbrella which includes many things under it. Finance for the humans is expected for a return the majority of the action which are inspired by a motive for the fulfillment of desire for obtaining of something in return. As far as today's definition of finance is concerned, it relates to money, it relates to something in return, currency, creation of money, management, the study of currency, money, capital assets, financing. Financing is essentially depends upon the usage of money with respect to its usage. The area of finance in is predominantly related to the personal financing with respect to where the individual demands are to be met, where a serious consideration for the future needs of an individual, proper saving must to be done, every commitment to which has been to maximize the ease in the upcoming years. The money as well as security nets helps in savings budgeting to increase the cash flow to prevent the debts. It helps for the growth of the assets. In case of corporate financing, it includes the sources of funding, how the money would be financed, corporate structures with respect to capital, capital budgeting analysis, the tools which has to be used for the case of financial, in the case of reading of the financial accounts. Moreover, it helps to increase the firm value with respect to the shareholder. Regarding the personal finance of a company, it depends upon the product, the company's production rate, the sales figure, adding up of the company's value, which is mainly used to decide how a company's money would be utilized and managed with respect to the separate departments: production, finance, accounts, sales, research and development. All those departments are in need of finance, therefore, how the funds would be allocated to them within the company. Corporate finance is a major concept which includes three subfields in it. It is capital budgeting, selection of proper investable projects, which project needs to be financed, which product we should company should take up. Capital structure, the structure of the capital, it includes equity, debt, loan from government, or any subsidy which has been received, any project where government finance it by subsidy, then how much money would be required to carry out the production activity, to carry out that activity. Dividend policy, when the profit which has been arrived to the company, how that profits would either it would be retained or it would be distributed. Public finance, when it comes to public financing, financing as an activity in case of public would include the role of the government in the economy as an important to look after the day-to-day expenditure of the people. It is after the public administration, the polity, where the financial needs to run any kind of government, whether it would be at local level government, self government, gram panchayat, state government, or central government, or any kind of union territory. The government structure of any category would be under public finance, where financing the government sector, the company which are run by the government, any company in which government has its own stake of capital, and it is of importance, eminence importance, where since the investing in the public sector is of utmost importance for the betterment of the economy and the development of the country, and also it affects every individual level. It affects to the bottom of the country. The major concern with respect to public financing are the revenue expenditure, how the revenue sources, how the revenue expenditure related to the expenditure would be carried on. To carry on the revenue, source of revenue, what would be the income, the required expenditure which are for the identification, which expenditure would be required in the case of public entity, process of budgeting, how the budget would be, like what is the source of capital for the taxation, income tax, indirect taxes, loans, repayment of the loans, repayment of the principal amount, the capital, how that would be arranged, issuance of the debt, issuance of bonds, in the case of municipal bonds or gold bonds or bonds of any other nature. In case of savings would be mobilized of the individuals, the citizen of the country, by post office or the banks of the country. Moreover, risk management is also a term included under the service of financing, where the finance as a service, it has to include the risk management, credit, market risk, operational risk, financing. Financing refers to the financing decisions which are required, which is based on mathematical models. The advantages for financing as an activity is the flexibility is greater, it improves the cash flow, existing credit lines are preserved, there is a reduction in the cost to the owner, it enhances the various financial ratios, the financial analysis, financial ratio, to forecast the cash, how the funds would be received, to forecasting the cash benefits aligned with the payment, how the sales needs to be improved, the required amount of quantity. This would be done with the case of cost benefit analysis, marginal costing, standard costing, where how the sales are to be estimated, how the average order value needs to be increased, attraction of new customers, financial analysis, the agency services, how sales agent can be appointed to increase the sales revenue, budget analysis, how the management of the risk would be done, how the internal control activity would be carried on, where internal control with respect to the prevention as well as the detection of the errors, the detection of wrong done by the internal employees. personal employees, corporate finance, etc. The other services would be legal assistances. Legal assistance is a kind of services where a person who specializes, who has the knowledge of law, and who is providing the services to any person in the case of court of law, or where in the case of suits pending in the nature of civil or criminal. Identically, when a person who specializes a lawyer provides legal assistances, and that lawyer specializes in civil services, in civil law, then he would be dealing providing services with respect to that defendant or plaintiff who is involved in the case. If a lawyer who specializes in the criminal law, then in case of accused of a crime, it would be assisting to a claimant or plaintiff who is seeking justice for violation of rights against him which are being conducted. Another service would be chit fund. Chit fund is a kind of financial services where the members in the group, they contribute the funds so that they could make arrangements, they could provide funds to the persons who are in need of that at a proper, at the cyclic period of time. Those collected funds would be distributed to the one who demands. In return of that fund, interest would be provided, would be given by the one who has withdrawn the funds. Real estate services, the services with respect to buying and selling of properties, construction of properties, residential, etc. Real estate services. Transportation of services means the persons who are engaged in the case of transportation of goods from one location to another. Processing fees with respect to processing fees of any activity or manufacturing. Supply of electricity, the activity of distribution of the electricity would be covered under that. Boarding and lodging means a place of rent, a place has been rented. Lodging means a place of stay, but boarding as a facility includes food in it. Boarding means you will get a meal provided by wherever you are staying. Boarding just means food is included, and in lodging means that a place of stay, renting of a room for stay. The purview of the news, the purview of information, or any other services related to entertainment, amusement. But this services does not include rendering of any services free of cost or under a contract of professional services. Therefore, as per Section 2, Clause ZD, Foreign Exchange Management Act, it includes the provision of facility of the services which are given after charging a fees, after charging a costing. When the person who is receiving the services, the potential person, the user who has consumed, who has been used the services, the assistance, legal assistance, the medical assistance, the facility of financing, insurance, banking, etc., after paying fees. Therefore, the services which has been rendered free of charge or under a contract of personal services, they are not to be included as per Section 2, Clause ZB of Foreign Exchange Management Act.